Okay.
The title of that story is Daylight Bombing Target. And it was March 1945, very beginning of March. And practically, historically, the war was over. Hitler committed suicide in the end of April 20th or April 30th. But the weather was I was out on the farm with my mother and my father. The weather was clear and spring-like. That's what happens in early March in Germany, where we lived. And in school, we just had learned the song for the season. And it went a little bit like this. In March, the farmer harnesses his horses to plow the fields, to spread the seeds, so we can have a harvest in the fall. And there were other verses, all as hopeful as this one, all learned in school. My dad, I always felt, was such a farmer. He was out in the fields doing just that, tilling the ground and possibly later on putting out seeds. I was proud of him. I thought the song was written for us. And my mother was not idle either. She never was. And she would till the garden that we had right near the farm, and I helped her smooth out the seed to seed carrots. I remember that I had to make with a broken broomstick, I had to make moves in the ground, and then my mother very carefully laid the very light and white-looking carrot seeds into the grooves, and then I had to tap them down to cover the seed with a little dirt and let them go. I liked working with my mother in the garden. She was always very appreciative when I helped her with even just little things like making the grooves with my broken broomstick. We felt we were just like our dad. He was providing food for the community, or for the markt, as we call it, and we were providing just food for us. Now this rather idyllic scene was overshadowed by the fact that a war was going on still. There were daylight bombing raids made on a variety of nearby targets, and that kind of we hadn't gotten used to that. Such as there was a power plant not too far, there were coal mines to dig out the coal that was used in the power plants, and there were even raids, which we didn't really understand too much, on the sugar factory. One day, Dad was out with two horses plowing the fields nearby to get ready for the sowing. Mother and I heard the noise of a plane, or we always, when we heard the noise of planes, we always kind of would look up. We also would, like I still do, when any plane noise. And we would know that they were probably gonna dive bomb down to the coal mine or down to the power plants and drop their two bombs and glide up again. We'd seen it several times. So when we heard the noise of a plane rather close, a little closer than usually and more singularly loud, we looked up and we saw, we looked up toward the field where my dad was plowing. And then we saw it. The plane was diving straight down where he and his horses were working. And we saw two bombs They looked in the distance just like two little eggs that had been laid by somebody, going down right toward my dad and the horses where they were plowing. I held my breath, looking toward the field, and I heard my mother let out a very painful yet muffled scream. We both thought Dad has gotten it. And the dive bombers grew up and went and appeared in the west again. Mother was covering her face like she often did when she was totally distraught, and she pulled the big apron that she was wearing, she pulled that over her head, and she mumbled something as she was trying to walk away toward the house. I couldn't understand, but it sounded, she was saying something, but it sounded like she was praying, or that it had the word God in it. And eagerly, as mother was walking away, I said, "Mother, your dad is still standing. The bombs must have not hit him. And so are the horses. They're still standing in the field." But she didn't really respond and went into the house. But I waited and kept my eyes glued on the movement in the field where my dad was, and I waited for Dad to come back. He unhitched the horses from the plow, and I put away our tools, our garden tools, into the shed. Then Dad came up then with the horses, not the plow when we left in the field, with the horses, and he looked very dazed and very serious. And also he was rather calm, and I never knew, because he had survived, very calm, and I never know how he did that, because he just had survived a direct bombing attack. When Dad came near to the farm, I said, "Dad, I saw the bombs fall. Dad, I saw the bombs fall." It was a big question in my voice. He quietly answered, "But they did not explode," he said. "They didn't explode because they fell on the soft, loose, freshly plowed side of the field. One in front of the horses, one in back of me, behind me." And then he added, as if he wanted to give a reason for what I thought was a miracle. Very quietly, he says, "God protects farmers behind the plow." So he put the horses into the stable, and he went inside to see my mother. To this day, when I see photographs or films of war, this scene enters my mind, and it lingers very vividly with me, and it still causes me some anguish. This experience casts a shadow over me, one from which I shall never entirely emerge. That's a shorter one.